starting point, initial mindset, 2022. I have to put more time into studying in order to achieve desired results. Turning point mindset, 2023. I feel guilty for spending so much time studying instead of working on my personal development and putting myself out there. Good grades not guarantee a successful life. Finish line mindset, 2024. Before, I chose to be comfortable by overstudying, but now I get out of my comfort zone to challenge myself into thinking of how I can do same work but efficiently with less time spent studying. I started my journey in 2022 as my final year of overstudying. And starting from 2022 until 2024, where right now I am feeling myself completely comfortable with efficient studying and my grades definitely align with my expectations. This all had started when I had my math exam. It was actually a time around the year as it is right now, and I had the entire Christmas holidays to study. So I would wake up every day at 7 a.m. and I would study 30 minutes to 1 hour. And I was hoping for getting an amazing results. I did not get the results that I wanted, and that's when my journey began. Because if overstudying doesn't work, and there's this thing called efficient studying, then there must be something that I define for myself what efficient studying is. In general, getting more and more information of what it is. Here, where the definition divides into two, something as active learning and passive learning. Active learning, a method of learning where the learner actively engages with material throughout activities. Such activities can include learning material to other, summarizing it on a blank sheet of paper, drawing mind maps, or engaging into any type of games or quizzing, interacting with it as much as you can. With a goal, you can set this as your beginner mindset, is for you to sit down, study the material, and then when you think that you are done, you are able to talk fluently about the topic, you are able to go deeper into it, and with the material that you've learned, start doing real life problems. You can apply critical thinking above your knowledge because you have built this foundation of what you have had supposed to learn. And the second one is that you are actually excited for the test. You study to the point where you are excited for the test. For me, in my experience, I've never been entirely excited for the test up until this year. And this year, I feel like a lot of had changed, especially with the efficient studying, because before, even that same example of my math test, even though I have studied for the entire 2 to 3 weeks, when I was sitting in that classroom and taking the exam, I was shaking. I was not excited. I was not happy to show my knowledge. I knew that it's all there, but for some reason I felt like I would not be able to pick it out of my brain and put it on paper. Whilst when I'm using efficient studying, I'm in general feeling more relaxed towards taking exams and tests. The dark side of what could be also taken as efficient studying is actually passive learning, a method of learning where the learner observes information without actively engaging with it. It's simply listening to the teacher what they're saying and just thinking that it's gonna save up somewhere in your brain. It's highlighting notes, rereading notes and textbook, and then copying down information without engaging with it. So if you would write down a definition from the board, a passive learning of it would have been just to copy down word per word. An active engagement in it, an active learning, would have been to paraphrase the definition, to at first look at it, read it, understand, and then copy down in your own words. Maybe substitute some high-level English words with the easiest one, find synonyms. But the goal is to engage with the learning process, with the learning material as much as possible. Second thing you can do in order to change your mindset towards efficient studying mindset is to educate yourself on what studying strategies there are out there. The more material to work with you have, the easier it would be to find a solution to whatever different kind of material you need to learn. The problem is that you can't use one study technique for every subject. You can't even use one study technique for every problem in the same subject, which really emphasizes that the more tools you have, the easier it will be to approach the problem. And here are my top 3 strategies that I'm using for whenever I'm studying. that are more frequently used by me. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will apply to you, but just to throw some ideas out there is I at first have flashcards. I use Gizmo AI app that turns my class notes into flashcards and quizzes, which first of all saves time by AI generating my subject relevant revision material instead of me handwriting all my flashcards, which honestly speaking takes up a lot of time, especially if the material is really notes heavy. Second point is it helps with the organization because the app automatically organizes my knowledge into different decks. I can give titles and descriptions to all of them, which makes the revision and turning back to the material so much easier. Second is gamification. By including game-like design reward system and strict systems, it's just easier to follow. You feel more dopamine release whenever I'm using exactly this app, but also there's so much more out there for you to try out, so you definitely should check out and do your own research. Spaced repetition. I use Google Calendar to schedule my AI-generated flashcards for revision. And this is the system that I'm not sure a lot of people are familiar with, at least the people that surround me. So I find it really important to explain it step by step. What I do is I create my flashcards, and then on Google Calendar, I create to-do list for when exactly in the entire month I have to review specific flashcard stacks. So the strategy I use is that I review the entire study set in the first day, second, then fourth, so I skip day number 3, then in a half a week, then on my second week, so I skip the entire week, and then second week, and my third week. This means that I'm having roughly the entire month to memorize all the material, and you can look it up. What I'm actually talking about is the curve of forget. It's days versus percentages of how well you can retain the information in your brain. This method implies active recall, meaning after my third week of revision, the material is engraved in my brain. And one more benefit of it is that it makes revision for exams and tests easier as the material comes to you more naturally. In order to change your mindset, you really have to educate yourself and do a deep dive, so we are getting lower and lower to the parts of the icebergs, that you have to educate yourself and find already existing resources to fuel your study methods. Because in my case, whenever I want to use a Pomodoro technique where I set timer for 25 minutes and then have a 5 minutes break, you can already assume, and something that helps you to guide you through this process is that maybe there are people smart enough who have thought of this and who had an issue with this, so they already have a solution for me. And all it takes is to search up or ask ChatGPT apps, websites that already have Pomodoro timer built in. And the thing that I use for my Pomodoro technique is Focus Pomo, a Pomodoro timer. Really easy because they have everything already set up, and I don't have to worry about counting how many study sessions I had before my lunch break or how many study sessions there are else to go, and so on. It just saves up time and you can really focus on studying. For your mindset to change, you have to really change the way you approach the issue, the way you approach studying in this case, and how you structure your day around it. Therefore, developing a routine is a big yes. What I'm asking from you to do is to have set hours in the week dedicated to studying, the time where you study that stays constant every week. Discipline is a key for preventing overstudying, especially when you are trying to shift your focus from studying to your side hustles. When you want to, as in my case, I wanted to decrease the amount of time I actually studied, still get high results, but at the end of the day have time for my content creation. Well, having a limited time throughout the week dedicated to studying really makes you organize your work more efficiently. So you use those dedicated hours accordingly. So again, we are working with the concept of limited time. So you have to really think, what can I do in these 2 hours that I have today on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday in order to do all of my work and stay on top of everything and still have a balanced life. In my case, I really benefit from the free periods at school, and for some people it might not be the privilege that I have. So what I have developed is that I wake up at 5 and I have free time from 5 to 7, or sometimes even from 5 to 8. So sometimes I use these dedicated hours to studying because I am able to use this time most effectively in the morning. And my last point in this video about how to shift your mindset towards more efficient studying is actually a little bit connected with the previous one, because its goal is to set time limits for each task. right now we have time limits for studying in total, and in order to achieve maximum out of these hours, you also have to have your way with organizing those little tasks that you're gonna do in this 2 hours that you set for yourself. So what I'm suggesting to do is, when sitting down to do a task, approximately estimate the amount of time it will take for you to finish. So it might be 30 minutes, 1 hour, 45 minutes, whatever you think that will be enough for you to finish the task, and then decrease it by 10%. And I think I also heard it online for the first time, and I've been really trying my best to track down all of my tasks in order to achieve maximum efficiency. And here's some benefits that you are getting. By setting the limit, you give yourself guidelines between studying efficiently and being on track versus overstudying. So you are really decreasing that percentage of chance of you accidentally getting into the old habit of overstudying. By minimizing this time, you put yourself in the position of discovering your actual potential, of working under minimized time conditions, and it's easier to enter the flow state. Useful reminder / a mindset that bear in mind when approaching the 10% decrease of the time you think the task would take is that at-home essays can be timed to be finished in 1 to 2 hours, as this is the time you are given in your exams. In exams, you have to come in and you have to write a whole essay in 2 hours. So it really gives the perspective and the mindset that it can be done at home. So you don't really need this entire week to write an essay. You could sit down, time yourself, and spend the rest of the week either editing it one by one, 10 minutes every day, or you can dedicate it to your hobbies and side hustles. And to conclude all of this, the more you educate yourself on the topic, the easier it will get in order to direct yourself and on your schoolwork. At first, it will take trials and error and exploration of what study techniques suit you better in different scenarios. You will download and delete a lot of apps and try out a lot of promising websites to settle down on a few core ones. And the same goes for your strategies. You will explore a lot of options, and most of them might not even align with you and might be different from other people. It will take time and test your reflective skills, but in the long run, the time you will save by efficient studying will pay off in all of your hobbies, side hustles, and something I want to mention for the last time is, for you to switch your mindset, you really have to believe in it. And you won't necessarily believe it unless you have experience with it, unless you go through trials and error, unless you do mistakes, unless you return, unless you try those techniques again and see how you can adapt them to yourself. So it really takes a lot of time. I really hope this was helpful. See you next one.